Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first daily discipleship guide. We're going to do our daily study here. Really kind of a review of some of the things that we posted last night for our Sunday night Bible study. As I mentioned, this one's a little bit different in that it has 5 different days of devotionals throughout the week to kind of keep us constantly thinking about some of these concepts that we read about, so that hopefully when we meet again together next Sunday, we can discuss not only what God is going to do through that service, but how He's spoken to us throughout this week. If you were part of our email list, then you've already received this as a PDF format. Just a reminder, you can access that by printing it out if you want to have a hard copy, or if you have it on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, you can follow along with it digitally as well. If you did not get the email and you would like to be included in the list for the discussions that kind of have the reading and the plan to go over, in the comment section below, if you're watching on Facebook, just put in your email address and we can send you a copy of the PDF file so you can follow along for yourself. So what this is kind of going to look like is this just be just a couple minutes long, and we're going to kind of hit some of the high points of day 1 today, and then we will I'll kind of give a little bit more recommendations or instructions after that. But we see here day 1, the main point is that you see here at the top of your daily study for today is that sin always brings consequences. And we know this from our own lives. We can all think of probably some mistakes we've made in the past, some decisions we made that we didn't realize at the time what consequences they were going to bring. And we see here that this has been the case since the beginning of time. We saw that there was always a consequence for the sin, even back in Genesis chapter 3 in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. And it has here to read Genesis chapter 3, verses 16 through 18. We're not going to do that for time's sake. If you want to reread that, you can. But we're going to kind of hit some of the highlights here together. And it says here at the top of the study, it says, in these verses, God informed Adam and Eve of the consequences of their sin. After cursing the serpent for deceiving the woman, God addressed Eve first. God would intensify her physical pain in childbirth, and her relationship with her husband would suffer. Next, we see how the consequences of sin impacted Adam, and it says Adam was also impacted by the consequences of sin. The immediate consequences of his sin had made his work of caring for the land difficult. No longer could he and Eve work with ease in the garden. Instead, every fruit or grain they consumed would be grown, and verse 17 says, in sorrow. In addition to this heavy work, God reminded Adam that the ultimate punishment would be their death. He declared that humanity would return to the ground, as verse 19 says, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. And then underneath those 2 paragraphs is just a brief summary. It says, we sin when we choose to disobey or disregard God's commands. Ask God to help you recognize your own sin and consequences. And the 2 key elements there we see is we sin when we choose to disobey or we disregard God's commands. So we see that sin is either disregarding or disobeying God's commands. Then down at the bottom, there's a verse related to this, and it says Proverbs chapter 28, verse 13. He that covereth his sin shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. So this is kind of our daily discipleship guide for today, and what the plan is to do is I'll meet each day, hopefully, if the technology cooperates anyway, via this way. And what I'll ask you to do is after you've done the discipleship guide yourself, text somebody, call somebody, check in with somebody here on even part of our Facebook group, and just ask them if they've already read the discipleship plan, and see if there's a way you can connect with each other to discuss what God is, how God is speaking to your heart and your life through this text or through something else. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you'll be able to tune back in tomorrow as we go on for day 2. But for today, as we wrap up day 1, we see that sin always brings consequences, and let's go ahead and let's talk about that with each other. Thanks. Bye.